Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Thrive Co-Living Communities YouTube podcast. I'm Mark Stein, Thrive founder and your podcast host. We're creating sustainable, inclusive, and multi-generational residential communities. Our mission is to combat the epidemic of isolation, revitalize communities, and help others discover the many benefits of engaged community living by offering unique and ecologically sustainable co-living options. In this podcast series, join us as we discuss co-living, in addition to bringing you interesting people from around the world who are doing cool things to expand your knowledge and satisfy your curiosity. Through this podcast, learn more about our concept and see how Thrive co-living communities will bring together people from all walks of life who want to enjoy the best of independent and group living. To find out more about us, please visit our website at thrivecolivingcommunities.org. Thanks for watching and enjoy the podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Thrive Co-Living Communities podcast. I'm your host, Mark Stein. If you're a business owner or other professional trying to decrease stress and reach your full potential, you're going to love this episode with my guest, Evala Rahm. Evala is a highly educated leadership success coach with a master's degree in counseling from Boston University. She's also a professional certified coach with ICF, and she'll tell us what those initials are in the podcast. Master Practitioner of Energy Leadership, and a certified graduate of the Conscious Business Institute. She spent the last 10 years developing and building a coaching practice to help business leaders, especially those with addiction issues, and professionals to eliminate stress and live the life that they crave. Welcome to the Thrive Co-Living Communities podcast, Evala.
Hi, thanks. I appreciate you having me.
Okay, so this is an interesting niche that you've carved out here. Talk about, in other words, related to addiction.
hmm
Talk about how you came to focus on that particular niche as a coach.
Wow, that's a long story,
Well,
but
shorten
I
it
will
for us.
shorten it down very much. So, as a youth, I got into a lot of trouble myself with drugs and alcohol, and went into rehab when I was 18, and I've been sober ever since. So, pretty much my entire adult life. And throughout being sober, I've had a number of uh, situations which I would have loved to have been able to relax with something chemical, let's just say. I'm divorced. I've had breakups with romance and friendships and job changes and moves and weddings and all sorts of things where other people can participate in um, using drinking, right? When you do a toast at a wedding or when you go to a hail and farewell. I was a military spouse at one point, and there's always a toast at the formal events. And so, not doing that, I learned along the way how to get through life. When I got divorced, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I was doing a lot of research. I do have a master's degree, as you mentioned, and I was looking at a PhD program, but I really wanted something that was more action based. I did not want to be a therapist. I wanted something where I could really see people move through where they are and where they want to go and help them get there through accountability, through action plans. And that's when I came across coaching, and I thought, what a great way to do it, because having been a drug and alcohol counselor, I really am very familiar with 12-step programs and how they work. And they are programs of action. They take you through a series laid out very nicely and cleanly and take you to the place where you want to go. And it involves work. And a lot of times the work that is necessary isn't super comfortable. It can sometimes be a little bit scary. And having someone along with me to help hold me accountable has been key to my personal and professional growth. And so, what better way to do that to share that with other people. So I looked into coaching and became a coach. And during that process, I actually started off wanting to be a divorce coach because I had such an acrimonious, stressful divorce. There were many times where I had conversations with a higher power that started off with, really? Really? This is the way you want it to go for me? I pictured myself living in a refrigerator box. Our brain can take us to places and produce stories for us that are nowhere close to what reality is. So how do I get back into that? So I wanted to be a divorce coach, but I realized that there was not really, for me personally, a living to be made there, because the people I wanted to help were not the ones in a position that could afford coaching, and so that really wasn't an option for me as a profession. Certainly love to help people, but as far as a profession, I needed to be able to make money. So I looked into some other things, and I came across parent coaching. So I lived in Washington, D.C. area, the metro area, for a while, and I did parent coaching there. And right before COVID happened, I moved to Louisville, Kentucky, and there was a lot of changes that happened in my life, and I decided, well, let me change what I'm doing here too. I have ADHD, and I don't know what you know about that, but we like variety. And so when I moved to Louisville, I decided to become a leadership coach. I mean, I was always a leadership coach. My background, where I went to coaching school, is in a system called Energy Leadership. That's the modality. And so I wanted to switch over to business. For me, being in a community of people, having worked in recovery, being sober myself, I know that when I want a roofer or someone to clean my gutters or want some legal advice, I go to my community of recovery first. And I thought, how many business owners are there? How many professionals are there who are also in recovery? Long-term recovery. I believe that people who are just getting sober, just getting out of rehab, have that to focus on first. So who I'm talking about are the people like me. When I've been sober for 40 years, and as I mentioned earlier, there have been many life milestones that tested my ability to stay sober, and I managed to do it. However, there were also emotional needs that needed tending to. There were physical needs that needed attending to. There were mental needs that needed attending to. And as a coach, especially working with a system called Energy Leadership, we cover all of those: emotional, spiritual, environmental, social. So when we hit points in our lives where we just don't want to get out of bed, where we just want to turn on the TV and have a bag of chips and a jar of peanut butter with us, we don't want to answer the phone. We want to just shut the curtains and pretend like nothing is happening, and we're sober and we have tools that we can use and we aren't using them. Those are the people that I'm talking to. And if they're business professionals, what does that look like in their business? So as I mentioned before, I know that there are people out there who also would like to work with someone who is in recovery, who has been sober, who has gone through the process and come out the other side successfully, not only just making it through, but thriving as well. So those are the people I'm talking to, the ones who have hit a wall, who say to themselves, you know what, my sobriety is great, and I walk into the office and want to fire everyone. Or I hate all of my customers and clients and just wish that we could end. I want to run away to an island somewhere without internet. Those are the people I'm talking to. They have the tools, but they need some new tools. They need a refresh. I like to think of it like, if I have a living room and it's been the same style for the last 10 years, and I walk in, I'm like, I need something new. You have a couch, you have a TV, you have a rug, you have walls, but maybe let's throw some new paint on the walls. Maybe we turn the cushions and get some new throw pillows. We rearrange the furniture. That's what I bring to the table. I bring a refresh of, you have some tools. Let's bring in some new tools for you. Let's bring in some leadership tools. You had mentioned the Conscious Business Leadership Institute. which I went through a few years ago, and learning how to actively listen to people, learning how to change your model of success from one of I need to do and then I need to have in order to be the person I want to be. Let's change that from let's be a person and do the things that we do related to that, and then we'll have the things that we want. And I believe that most of the things that people want are freedom, flexibility, being able to take a breath and enjoy the fruits of their labor, not to just labor, labor, labor. So I've created a program that integrates some of what I have learned through being a therapist, being around the 12-step community, in addition to what I bring to the table from my coaching background. And it just is a program that everybody will understand.
Let's talk about a concept that I've heard through 12-step circles, and that's the concept of the dry drunk.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
how how does that manifest, and is that part of this dynamic with a leader that that's really cranky?
Right. So for those who may not have heard of this, a dry drunk, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, avatar, a dry drunk avatar. Right, that's really a popular phrase right now. A dry drunk is someone who is sober but might not be practicing the principles that bring them peace, so they take it out on everyone else. They seem to be angry, they're restless, they're irritable, they're discontent, and because of that, things just don't flow in a way that well, the way things do flow is it cuts them off from other people. If I'm around someone who is a dry drunk or appears to be a dry drunk, and I don't really like using that term because it's so derogatory and negative, because people who are not in recovery also get this way, right? We have things on our mind that weigh on us, and oftentimes, especially for people who are in longer term recovery, they don't want to tell anyone, right? They have a status: I'm sober, I can't have these problems. I want to keep these things secret. I'll do it on my own. I'll work at it on myself. When what they need to do often is the exact opposite, is to tell someone, a confidential person, someone who they can share what is going on their in their heart and in their head that's preventing them from getting what they want, and they may not even know how it's coming off to other people, coming off as aggressive, coming off as a bully, coming off as looking like a victim or sounding like a victim to others. And when you're in a leadership position, it's very difficult to have influence with your team, with your clients, your potential clients or customers, if you're in that position. And so the dry drunk is a term that's often used in recovery, but it really applies to anyone who is in a place where their spiritual, mental, emotional health is not being taken care of. And for an alcoholic, that's a normal time that they would want to drink, and they don't want to do that. They know what the results of that are going to be, so they just don't, and they're white knuckling it. White knuckling is, if I hold my fist like this, you can see the knuckles are white. They're just getting through, hoping that tomorrow or next week or when this project is over, that it's going to be better. But if they aren't taking care of those things, it often just repeats itself.
And I find that people in that, let's just say people in that situation, so we're not labeling them a dry drunk. I know what
Right,
you're
right.
talking about. But people in that situation, not only are they being aggressive and taking it out on others, but themselves off they're cutting off their humanity in dealing with their coworkers, people that report to them. So they're not being their authentic selves and they're being aggressive. So it's hard for people, I think, to relate to them. And it's easy for them, for the victim in that situation, to push them away.
Mhm.
Um, and I think hiding, retreating, maybe not even being uh, connected to your authentic self is part of
Mhm.
that dynamic.
Mhm.
Talk about that a
Mhm.
little bit.
Well, let me ask you this, Mark. If I were if I were your boss, let's just say I was your boss, which I'm not. You are your own man, your own boss. If I were
Nobody's the boss
your
of me. You're not the boss of me. Go ahead. Sorry.
if I were your boss and you came to me to say, you know what, I have to go to the doctor tomorrow and I need to take the day off. And I'm like, okay, fine. That's fine. You know, we'll work around that. And then you start talking to me about being scared because you went to the doctor before and this is a follow-up and it didn't sound good on the phone, and you start to have feelings around it. And I'm in the middle of a project and I'm trying to do something and I'm super dismissive of, okay, that's fine. Take the whole day. I understand. I get it. But I'm not looking at you and I'm not having any empathy for you. And because I'm not looking at you, I don't even know, I can't read how emotional you are about it, but you are scared because you're not sure is this a cancer diagnosis? Is this a benign thing? You know, whatever the doctor's thing is, you're scared about it. That is exactly what you're talking about. It cuts me as the boss off from you, my employee. And so you're just going to have an idea about, well, she's just a jerk. She doesn't want to hear my stuff. She's about the bottom line. She's about getting work done. So now I'm going to go tell Susie Q, my desk mate, about what happened. And now we have a whole dramatic scenario in the office that I, as the boss, don't even know about. I step out of my office and everybody was talking and they look down at their desk and start to do their work. That is not a work environment most people want to be in. So that's how me not being able to connect with my people because I'm worried about my own stuff will affect my work environment. And then imagine if I have unhappy employees. So I was talking to someone, or maybe it was through one of the classes I took. They use Marriott as an example of a company that believes if their employees are happy, then their customers are going to be happy. So if I have employees who aren't happy, they aren't going to be doing their jobs as diligently. They're not going to have any loyalty to me and the company. So they might slack off here or take more sick days or be looking at another job, putting their resume out somewhere. So now I'm going to have to train new people, spend time and energy on that. And it's going to make me even more angry because I'm already angry because I'm shoving everything down because I don't want to admit I'm having feelings. So now, what if you come to me and I say, oh my gosh, that's terrible, knowing I don't really have time, but taking 5 minutes to listen to you and empathize with you, then you leave my office going, Evala really understands. I feel okay leaving the office. She knows what's going to be happening. It's a completely different dynamic. Then you don't tell Susie Q over here what's happened. There's no office gossip, and everybody just kind of goes about their day and does their job.
Mhm. I I see that dynamic, and also I was thinking actually the reverse, where in those situations the boss is hiding, covering up their
Mm-hmm.
true feelings and their true self, and they're not able to be to to admit mistakes, be
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable in any sort of way. And
Mm-hmm.
I do find, because I have teams, I do find that if on occasion I say, man, I really fucked up that situation,
Mm-hmm.
and own it, or I am so in the weeds, I'm sorry I'm not getting to you quickly, but I am so in the weeds, I can't I can't see straight. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you're in leadership, to be able to be vulnerable and admit mistakes, which is modeling behavior that we want our team to be able to do,
Mm-hmm.
that's helpful because then they're able to see you as a person. And I think a lot of people who are in recovery but not being supported or feeling supported really cut themselves off from their true self, and they're just um, expansive and putting stuff out there, and most of it is not positive, and they're not
Mm-hmm.
being allowing themselves to be human with their colleagues.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I can give you a personal example. Um, a few years ago, I had an employee who was doing something on the clock that was recreational that she was not supposed to be doing. And I was not at work that day, but I had to come up there for something. And I saw this happening and I lost it. I blew my cool and I couldn't stop it. Like anger because I'm the boss, right? I'm in control. You're supposed to be doing what I'm telling you to do, and I find out you're not. So I'm having these feelings of betrayal because I trusted you that you were doing your job, and I come up here and you're messing around doing something else. And I was so angry. I just got in her face and I got in another coworker's face. Oh my gosh. I'm not embarrassed to tell you the story now because I've had to process it, but it was horrible. I had to call my supervisor. I'm like, this is what's going on, and I'm so mad, and I can't believe she's doing this. And then the next day happened, and it was like an emotional hangover. It was horrible. And I was in the wrong. I was in the wrong. She might have been doing something wrong, but I was in the wrong because I am the leader. I am her employer and I am just doing what you were doing, shaking my finger in her face. So then I had to go back and say, "Look, so and so, I completely lost my cool and I am embarrassed and ashamed and I am so sorry about that. What I said to you, uh, the words, the intent was there, but how I did it was completely inappropriate. And I am so sorry. And what can I do on my part to help repair this? Because you're a great employee. Whatever happened yesterday, we had not talked about before. And so we were able to have it, but it took a couple of weeks for us to come back together again. But we were able to do that. But me being able to be humble and go, this was me. It took a lot. And how are we able to do that and come out the other side? And I think because I was able to do that, because what happened was it completely broke her trust of me, right? Like if someone's coming at me, I'm never telling her anything. I'm not going to do this. So I had to like almost prove myself for a few weeks that
Mhm.
that that was a one-time incident. And I still think about it today. I mean, that was 3 or 4 years ago, and I still think about how much that incident changed what I did because I felt so bad about what I did afterwards. But when it was happening, I couldn't it was like a train. I could not stop words from coming out of my mouth. Even as it's happening, I'm like, I need to stop doing this, but I couldn't do it because when you're in that state of anger and that energy is up and the train has left the station, it's very difficult to stop. So what do we do to repair in the end? And yeah, it's a difficult thing to do, but I find that for people in recovery, we have the tools to do it. Anyone in recovery has the tools. If they are just sober, that's one thing. If they are actually attending some 12-step meetings, they have tools that they have learned, and the longer that they've stayed sober and used those tools, the easier it will be to apply them to their work situations.
Let's dig into a scenario that came to mind. So, one of the things that could be affecting someone in long-term recovery is being tired of going to meetings,
Mhm,
especially the same meeting. I'm talking about AA meetings now,
mhm, mhm,
or any addiction meetings.
mhm,
Um, they're bound to be hearing the same stories or the same types of stories week on, week off.
mhm,
Um, so that may lead them to be in the rut that they're in. They're not going to meetings. They're not getting support. Um, how important is it for people that are in long-term recovery to go to meetings, find a different meeting? Maybe if they're in a mixed group, male and female, go to an all-male group.
mhm.
How important is it to keep attending those meetings when they've hit a wall? Or is someone like you, that shake up that they need, um, is that a, can that be a substitute for meetings? Let me
Mhm.
stop.
Well, so the first thing I want to say is that I am not here as a representative of any 12-step meeting because I'm just not. And what I do know, though, about people who are in recovery who go to meetings and who have been sober for a while, they do hit ruts, just like people who play a sport, if they play for 12 years, sometimes that they hit a rut with that. So, however, people who play a sport don't go and relapse and have a car accident and kill someone. So typically they just find something else to do. So in recovery, when people hit a wall, there are so many options out there. The problem that I know that I find talking to people who are in 12-step programs who do hit a wall is, well, what are my other options? I don't even know what my other options are. They can get so stuck. We all get into routines. And again, it goes back to that whole couch thing, right? I've seen the same living room when I walk in my door for the last 10 years. What do I do? So
Mm.
how do we bring those new tools in? And what I know and what I've experienced personally is there are programs out there, spiritual programs, emotional programs, mental programs that you can bring into your life. I mean, all you have to do is go on Google and type in some things, and it can throw a new perspective. When I first started coaching, I got really involved in Brene Brown's work. I don't know if you know who Brene Brown is, but she talks about authenticity. I became a certified facilitator, and that just opened my mind to so many things that aligned beautifully with recovery and 12-step programs. They went together so nicely, but it was something different, a different perspective on things with a new set of things that you can do. But a lot of times people don't know what those resources are. I know one of the things that I bring to the table is you had mentioned how highly educated I am in the intro, and I'm like, I don't really like hearing how highly educated I am, but I do have a lot of knowledge and a lot of skills. And when I talk to people, when I work with people, when they say anything to me, it's so easy for me to go, oh, well, have you tried listening to this? Have you tried doing this? There are so many resources available to us as human beings that put us in touch with our basic nature, that heart related nature, that allow us to be authentic, that allow us to open ourselves so that others can see us. And when others can really see us at a heart level, that's when we have that connection and the community that we don't feel like we need to go to a chemical or some other addictive behavior, gambling, porn, shopping, other things that people in recovery will pick up so that they don't use chemicals, that we don't have to go to those because we feel whole on the inside.
One of those options I could see could be the right spiritual group for them. So
Mhm.
get out of recovery for a little bit and delve into spirituality, which is of course related, all related, but um,
Mhm.
the danger there is that they could get into, and I see a real link between 12 step and Christianity. And I think some of them have to be careful with it. But going to the right spiritual group for that person to, as long as it's supportive and not condemning, there's
Mhm.
especially in this era, there's a lot of condemnation in some forms of, I won't call it spirituality, religion. Um,
Mhm.
so is that a good option for some people as long as they can find one that is nurturing for them and others?
Well, I think everybody is different. I really think everybody is different. There actually is a program called Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christian-based recovery program, and I know people who participate in both AA, NA, 12-step programs, and do Celebrate Recovery too. One of the things that I don't know how familiar you are with the steps, but the 12th step, which is the last step, it's about being of service to others, taking what you know now and spreading the word, basically, helping new people coming in. And that relates to your question just a moment ago about how people keep fresh. How do they keep what they're doing fresh? When you are working with a new person in recovery, you go back to working your step one again, working your step because you're doing it with someone else. And the benefits of that are this: if that person, now I also need to clarify, having a sponsor, having someone to help people work the steps is not the same thing as a coach. It's not the same thing as therapy. And coaching is not really sponsorship. Therapist is not really these are very clearly defined things. So having someone who is a little burned out in what they're doing in the recovery, in addition to finding new meetings and like you said, stepping outside and looking for other spiritual based ways to nurture themselves, uh, being able to help others is also a key to preventing burnout because you're starting all over again with someone new. It may be someone who might have had the same problems that they had when they came in the rooms, or it might be something completely different. And if that person has a sponsor who is coming up against some problems with the new person who that they aren't capable of dealing with because they are not a therapist, and I need to stress this, AA is not therapy. 12-step is not therapy. There are reasons why they suggest finding outside resources if there are things that people in 12-step programs cannot help with. It is not a good idea to have someone who is a sponsor trying to be a therapist. It's not ethical. It doesn't work. And I really recommend anyone who has a sponsee and they have a problem you can't help with to refer them to a therapist or refer them to a coach, refer them out. That is not their job to fix. Um, that kind of went down a path. I don't know if I even answered the question,
Yeah,
but I think that's it's an important note. Being
yeah.
able to find a spiritual group that aligns with what your recovery is another way to, of course, grow. And when you're in a growing position, you're not bored with what's happening.
Let's leave put addiction aside for a moment. It'll probably come back in, but into the conversation. But let's just focus on leadership a little bit, um, regardless of 12 steps in recovery.
Mhm.
Um, One of the things that I have been exploring um, in my work is the dichotomy between scarcity and abundance.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in fact, I've come across a quote that inspires me to do some of my own work, and that is that quote is scarcity cannot exist where there's gratitude.
Mhm.
And I'm always one to test things out because I'm a skeptic, and I find that I cannot simultaneously hold feelings of scarcity and abundance at the same time, or gratitude.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so, how important is it for the leader of an organization or a professional person in relation to their clients to be in a place of abundance? And I think gratitude is closely related to that abundance, as opposed to a position of scarcity, which I think is more linked to fear,
Mhm.
insecurity, those sorts of things when they're in leadership roles with their organization.
Mhm. So I'm just going to talk very briefly about energy leadership, which is one of the modalities that I use. And um, energy leadership basically is a modality that says that there are 7 different levels of energy that we operate from. And the lower levels of energy, which are destructive energy levels, are where you're going to find your scarcity. And those are the 2 bottom levels. One is a victim level. And if we think about what a victim is, it's a person who is making excuses, but you kind of picture that Peanuts character, Pigpen, with the little rain cloud that just follows him everywhere, right? It's like, oh, I'm never going to have enough, or this isn't going to work out. It's just doom and gloom, right? That is a scarcity mindset. When we're talking about a leader, it is very difficult to operate from that. Number one, no one is going to follow that. Who wants to follow the rain cloud? No one.
You don't even
Have
want the person doing it doesn't even want to follow.
no. I mean, how many
No.
times has that person, you go to a social event and that person, because we all know one, walks in and you're like, don't have eye contact. Don't have eye contact because they're going to come over and tell you about all of their troubles. That is a scarcity mindset because there's not enough and I'm not getting my share and the world is horrible. So to be able to move into those higher levels of energy does take work. We have to have an awareness. We have to have an awareness that there is the rain cloud. If we don't even have that awareness, nothing will ever change for that person. And so typically we don't really see people in that role where it's an outward manifestation. Typically, and this is just what I noticed. There's no research that I have on me that I can quote you, but what I noticed for people who are in leadership positions in a scarcity mindset, there's a lot of micromanagement because this person isn't going to get the job done right. And if the person doesn't get the job done right, then it's not going to get turned in on time. If it doesn't, we're going to lose this client. We're going to lose this job. We're going to lose whatever. And so operating from that, we're going to lose mentality is just destructive. And it's not sustainable. And businesses will fail when they operate from that. They're going to lose employees, they're going to lose customers and clients, and they will lose personal relationships because what happens in the workplace doesn't just stay in the workplace. It transfers and filters over to all aspects of life. So to live in that mindset, and let me be honest with you, I go there. I go there, not on a regular basis, but periodically I go there when something doesn't go the way I think it should. It's important to note that having that scarcity mindset was a survival skill for us, right? Way back when we had to go hunt saber-toothed tigers to eat because we didn't have food. There's the legitimate term for scarcity, right? I don't have enough food to eat. I better go get my butt out there and get something to eat. So there's a reason that we as human beings have that. It's how do we, I don't want to say control it, how do we manage it so that we can acknowledge, okay, I'm in a place of scarcity. Let me do a reality check. How can I do a reality check? Let me call up a friend of mine who is my confidant, who I know will be honest with me, who will be kind with me. We don't want someone who's going to be honest, brutally honest with us, where we're like, oh my gosh, why did I even call this person? But to have someone who we can confidently say, I'm thinking this. I know it's probably not true. Can you just be my sounding board for a second? And sometimes that's all we need is to hear what we're thinking to go, that's crazy talk, and get back into the space where we're being, again, of service to others. And you mentioned that gratitude attitude. When I can be of service to others, I am almost always in a grateful mode. Sometimes it's because I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not going through that anymore. And sometimes it's because this feels so good. I feel like I'm really helping this person. When I can be of service, gratitude is much easier. And when I'm in a gratitude space, it's like you said, I don't have that scarcity thing because I'm in a place where I have a belief system. It's a mindset that everything is going to be okay, that there is some sort of process that is happening that I might not be in control of. I might not know. It's a energetic. It can be spiritual. If you're a religious person, it can be God-centered, but there's something happening where I don't have to be in control. And when I can let go of the control and relax, creativity flows, innovation flows, cooperation flows, again, personally and professionally.
There's another quote that I'll use on myself that's a little more humorous and easier to apply. And it came from Al Franken, former senator of Minnesota and comedian, still comedian. And he used the quote, "No whining on the yacht." Um, so I
Mm,
think that really is a kick in the pants to remind ourselves that we're a lot of our problems are first world problems.
Yes.
Um, and just staying with that just a little longer, how important is it to express gratitude to the people that we supervise, our colleagues, saying thank you? Um, how important is that? And can you overdo it to the point that it doesn't sound um, authentic and real?
I was in a workshop a couple of weeks ago, and the facilitator asked everyone in the workshop to take their phone out and to text a gratitude to someone. I didn't pick anyone that I worked with, but I picked my daughter-in-law. The reason for that is I just got back on Sunday from a cruise to the Caribbean, and I went with my daughter, and her partner did not come with us. And I was so grateful that she allowed me that time. It wasn't a permission thing, but allowed me that time to be with my daughter for a week. And so I said, Abby, thank you so much for allowing me to spend time with Dakota alone. I know it's Thanksgiving week, and I truly appreciate it. And I put a little heart on it and I sent it. And she sent it back saying, thank you for being Dakota's mom. And it was, or something like that. But it just felt good. And so many times I'm like, oh, I want to thank somebody, but I don't want to seem goobery. But everyone loves to be thanked and appreciated. And when we express gratitude to someone, that's what we're doing. We are showing our appreciation and our love, right? I love you. I'm not saying it. I'm not telling everyone at work. Um, a few weeks ago, presently I'm in this training so energy leadership is the system that I use. And we have a new 360 assessment. So as being in the training, I had to do it. So I asked everyone in my life, people, my peers, people I work with, family members, friends, my clients, people who report to me, everyone to take this 360. So a 360 basically is there was 36 questions, and they evaluate me on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest, where I am on some of them. And some of them were like, well, I have it right here. Some of the assessment questions are um, motivate and inspire others, focus on priorities of the team and everyone's role in those priorities, make effective decisions. And there's 36 statements like that. And I didn't want the answers. I'm like, oh, because of course my mindset is like, oh, I'm a scarcity mindset, right? Oh, no one likes me. It's terrible. I don't want to know what the answers are. But I thanked everyone. Thank you so much for taking it. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your honesty. It's anonymous. I'm not going to know who said what. So please be honest with me. It'll be most helpful to me if you're honest. But I am so grateful for you all for participating. And they're like, oh, yeah, no problem. We gave you ones on everything. So, but they took the time. They took 10 minutes to spend doing something for me that they get nothing out of. And I really appreciated it. So imagine if we were able to express our gratitude to someone. Uh, Even if they just did something small, aren't we grateful when we have an armful of groceries and someone holds the door open for us? Or aren't we grateful when someone at work picks up a project that I'm behind on? Or this morning I was talking to my virtual assistant and something is wrong with my website. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Do we need to go back to before we did this and reset it? I can't even think of the words. And she said, you know what, Evala, I'm really scared. I'm like, I'm scared too, but we're going to have to do this because my website looks terrible and I'm trying to send people there. So being able to say she's scared made me grateful. And I know she was grateful to say, I'm scared too. We're in this together, That's a leadership spot to be. She trusts me that I'm not going to yell at her. She messes up because I don't know what's going to happen and she doesn't know what's going to happen. But that gratitude, it just changes everything when I can express that to someone. It's a form of love. And isn't that really what we are all looking for? We're on this planet not to make money. What do we do with the money? Well, if we spend the money on something that's fun and we want other people to come, that's a form of love. So the end result is not making the money. It's how we're connecting with people with what we're doing. And so I do have a little tip for you. Brene Brown one of the exercises she has is doing a gratitude jar. So every day I have a little jar, and I think it's downstairs. I have a little jar, and every day I write a gratitude, and it's an ordinary gratitude. Like when it is 90 degrees outside, I am grateful to have an air conditioner in my car. When it is snowing outside, I'm grateful to have a snow shovel. Those are gratitudes because everybody doesn't have air conditioning. Everybody doesn't have a snow shovel. What do I have that I want to be grateful for? I am grateful for you. I am grateful for you, Mark, for doing this. I'm grateful that we are in a group together where we see each other every other week. I totally appreciate what you say in that group. I listen to you. I trust what you say, and I am grateful to know you. Um, Legitimately, I'm not just making this up as an example, but I am, because I like you and I think that what you're doing is amazing, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. I'm grateful for this interview and for you allowing me the time to be on here. And for that gratitude, I feel good, and I hope that you know that what you're doing means something to not just me, but many other people.
Well, thank you. Wasn't
You're welcome.
expecting that, but I'll take it.
It just came out.
So,
It just came out.
yeah, thank you. Um, we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about as we're starting to wind up here that you haven't talked about? Uh, Important point, service that you offer, niche, anything, or just something on your mind lately?
Uh, Well, this 360 has been on my mind lately because I'm right in the middle of this training. I'm almost finished with it. And I did get my results. And when I got the results, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be huge for people who aren't sure what their leadership style looks like. In taking it, I know that I had to rate myself. And so I rated myself on all these categories, and I saw where people rated me. And I actually rated myself lower than a lot of the other people did. But imagine if I have a client who isn't really sure what he looks like to his employees or to his clients or even to his family members. Sometimes we take work home with us, and our family members let us know how we are. Right? You were a jerk to that person that tried to talk to you in your office, or whatever. So it's a great tool, and I love this tool. And so I'm going to be promoting that as soon as I get done with the training and really can see how that works out. But it's an awesome training. And energy leadership is so, I know I keep using that stupid word awesome, but it's a program that really allows me to go, okay, I am in low energy right now, and what choices do I need to make to get into those higher levels so I am not on the couch with a bag of chips and a jar of peanut butter. Not that you can tell that that's my standby or anything, because I've mentioned it several
No,
times.
it's twice here.
I love Fritos and peanut butter, and if I can throw a peanut M&M on top, it's all the better. But there are times as humans that we do go through these periods. I do want anyone listening to know these are normal human things. They're not alcoholic things. They're not, I need some therapy things. We all go through periods of our lives where we run up against a wall emotionally and we get stuck and we don't know what to do. My favorite book right now, it's been my favorite for a while, is Atomic Habits, because it talks about these are our brains. Our brains are meant to pump blood and have our heart beat and make our lungs work. They are not meant to think about Susie Q talking about Bobby over there in the coffee room. They are meant to make us, our bodies work. And so when we try to do things that change those little neural pathways, we're going to experience resistance. And this is why coaching is so key to that. What do you want to do? How do you want to get there? Let's put a plan in place. We talk every week or every other week and see how that plan is working. We tweak it because I want all of my clients to get to the results that they're looking for.
If people want to work with you, I know you're in Louisville, Kentucky, but are
Mm-hmm.
you also on Zoom? And how can people best reach you if they'd like to reach out and explore that possibility?
Well, they can go to my website, which is working, but right now it's ugly. So I'm just letting you know.
Go to your ugly website and
Go to
the
the ugly
address.
website at www.beyondthe12.com, and there is contact information there, I hope.
What's your email
Yes, there's
address?
a button where you can put that you can click on where you can talk to me on a Zoom call, because I usually do my Zoom. Let me tell you why I do Zoom. Because it's easier. No one has to drive to meet me. We can meet when it's snowing, when schools are closed. It's just easier. You can do it in your living room. You can eat while you're on your Zoom call. I don't really care. But if you go to my website, there's a link you can click for a 45-minute free call with me, and we can just talk about what's going on. You can also reach me at Evala, Evala, at beyondthe12.com.
All right, good. And we'll put that information down in the show notes below,
Mm-hmm.
along with any key points that you may have mentioned.
Okay.
So, well, I really want to thank you for this. It's been a quick hour. Um, Let me wind up here and thank you formally. Um, so, First of all, thanks to you for joining me today on the Thrive Co-Living podcast. To learn more about Evala and her work, please look at the contact information down in the show notes below. If you'd like to learn more about Thrive Co-Living Communities, you can go to thrivecolivingcommunities.org to find more details, and we'll put that down in the show notes as well. If you like the episode, please be sure to like it, subscribe, and click that notification bell. We're usually here about once a week, sometimes every other week, but all the episodes are on our website under podcast and blog. And thanks again, Evala, and we'll see you all next time on the Thrive Co-Living Communities podcast.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for joining us for another great episode of the Thrive Co-Living Communities YouTube podcast. To learn more about our mission and how you can support our vision of creating co-living communities worldwide, please visit us at thrivecolivingcommunities.org. To receive advanced viewings of our podcast and other exclusive content, find us on Patreon at patreon.com/Thrive Co-Living Communities. You can also learn more ways to support our mission in the show notes below. Amazon, Smile, GoFundMe, Kroger, and our own Thrive Gear store, where you can buy t-shirts, hats, and many other items. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.